everything left in the fridge there, and like just so many Bud Lights. But that Bud Light was
Barstool Sports and more, all available for free. Now your favorite radio app can be your favorite podcast app. Download or open the free iHeartRadio app and tap podcast to start exploring.
All right, I'll be back in a second.
Clear skies, lows in the 40s for the most part tonight. Sunny and warmer starting tomorrow. That's going to last until the week.
There's via the 22 and 57, they're saying 3 right lanes are blocked off, and that's backing up pretty quickly as you're coming away from the 55. If you're stuck in that route 7 anytime traffic line, it's 888-500-5003. Eastbound side of the 22 is going down and turning into transition. On the 60 freeway, eastbound side in Chino, just before you get to Central, they have the 3 right lanes shut down because of a crash and the car fire.
Yeah, I got it. We're cool.
You got it?
Yeah.
Was it a little box?
Hi,
Yeah.
Jeff
Yeah.
Law, your KFI in the sky. Come up here, I see a lot of accents and they never look good. Listen, I'd like to recommend my attorney, Marianne Farman. I met Marianne after my accident and she's been amazing. I was pretty shaken up, but I knew right away I was in great hands. Marianne Farman is caring, compassionate, and she gets the job done. Marianne Farman has 20 years of legal experience and has won over $400 million in cases. And has outstanding.
Did you know Remington filing for has filed for bankruptcy? That's nice.
Yeah.
I call her a superwoman.
What kind of beer is that?
It's
What? You getting your bumper?
yeah, Anderson Valley.
About 3
Oh,
minutes.
Trump's fault, too.
Call 800-800-6916.
I was using the bathroom. I'm back. Who loves my new haircut?
You're Paul. I'm the new spring turn.
Spring plus.
Intern. Yeah. Summer, right?
Chris Little.
It's too short to part.
Chris Little's been listening in, make sure everyone's staying on their new break schedule, you know. So.
Oh, what is it?
Well, it's actually not new. It's just the classic one, but they're just being, really tough.
Hard
So
hard
just-
D's.
So just make sure you.
So he wants that out at 27.
Yeah, like right now. I don't know. I was running late with Wendy, and he called like during the show and called the studio. So, and that shit was just pre-recorded too. She wasn't even.
The Army National Guard is committed to keeping
I always wash my hands.
and our community secure.
I never get the flu vaccination because I wash my hands all the time. So what I have right now is I have a cold. I don't have that flu. So it's just a snotty nose and kind of a chest cough. But it's not that flu. But what do I care? Because I got pneumovax. I'm vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. So while you all die of pneumonia because you got the flu, I'm going to live and just be in bed for 3 days. Which is a decidedly better outcome, I would submit. However, Bridget Fedesi was going to be in studio for like an hour, but she's sick, so she's at home. But we'll get her in studio maybe next week.
Why won't a plumber just tell me what it costs to unclog my drain over the phone? Is it that complicated?
No, it's not. It makes no sense at all. They obviously have a price.
Whoa. You've got a nice aroma. Who are you?
Mike Diamond, the smell good
Mike
plumber.
Diamond, man.
Will you tell me how much to unstop my drain?
$99.
Man.
But you haven't seen it.
Don't need to. Doesn't matter if it's a kitchen.
Oh, we have a couch set in Redondo Beach.
Smell good plumber.
Oh.
A three, like an L-shaped.
Wow.
That's nice, but it's after the rain.
There are a few exceptions.
Ooh, all kinds of critters.
All about them on our website before you call. Just go to thesmellgoodplumber.com.
Wow, you're like up front and everything.
You're like
I just called a guy named Bubba who wouldn't tell me anything.
No Bubba's here. Who show up on time, smell good, and unclog drains for night.
No Bubba's here.
For official rules and more information about contests,
Good.
stay tuned to KFIA.com/rules.
24-hour news, more stimulating talk. Now, just a voice command away. Just ask Alexa to play KFI.
Getting KFI station from iHeartRadio.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is the super hyperlocal Sunday here for the 25th of March, 2018. All the news that happened south of Santa Barbara. To the 19 million of us that live here in the Southland, everything you need to know. By the way, for the record, I'm over that bumper because, man, I heard the crap out of that. Every commercial break, NCAA basketball tournament. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I mean, I guess it's Samsung that's using that. And they're pounding it. Just absolutely pounding it. So, and it's from 2015.
Who is it? Who's the artist?
Aston Marigold. He's kind of a Bruno Mars ripoff.
Yeah, right. That's what's
But it's good. And it was, I want to say it was filmed in El Monte at a mall, but it was summer and something else. But anyway, this bumper is going on hiatus, I believe, until the NCAA men's tournament is over. By the way, Kevin Figures, El Caliente Sports Ball, our temporary permanent sports editor, he is going to be joining us next hour talking about the Final Four. It's now set, and also Clayton Kershaw for real with a 0.00 earned run average coming out of spring ball for the Dodgers. So we'll talk with him. Well, you might have heard about the March for Our Lives in L.A., and maybe more about that later. I think you heard all about it all day long yesterday. I talked about it quite a bit last night on Dark Secret Place, second hour. But what about Irvine? March for Our Noses. The Orange County, which at times it makes perfect sense to me, and I'm sitting here saying, how come I don't live there? Wow, that is run by adults. Ever since they declared bankruptcy, in whatever it was, early 90s, wow, that county's being run by adults. That's its reputation. And of course, there is the epicenter of sensible living in California is the city of Irvine, which just recently came up as like one of the top 5 most livable cities in America, which is astounding to me that any city in California would even make that list. But now that Orange County has cleared out the riverbed of all the vagrants, and now that their hotel vouchers have run out, now the County of Orange apparently in answering a legal decision and trying to avoid liability, are continuing to find a place to put these homeless. So in other words, rather than simply saying, you're trespassing in that riverbed, go. That didn't work. And then you had a month in a hotel at taxpayer expense. Go. Rather than doing that, the County of Orange has found a plot of land in the city of Irvine to start telling people, hey, great news, you can move out of this stinky hotel with running hot water and a flushing toilet, and you can go back to crapping on the lawn. But this time it'll be in Irvine. And of course, the people of Irvine went absolutely nuts. You heard them on with John and Ken. Today was a demonstration. They had like 14 school buses to get people out to the area. Our friends down the road at ABC 7 were there.
They began filling up the edge of the Great Park in Irvine. Many of the neighbors carried signs.
The city of Irvine is taking some very aggressive steps to push back on the county ill-advised plan to build a tent city here.
Here is across the street from...
By the way, that was the vice mayor of Irvine.
This park.
You guys want to try some salsa?
A place where families gather...
So now they're showing Saturday and Sunday in Irvine. There's a park. There's a lovely promenade where people bring farm fresh produce. They're selling. You heard that woman selling fresh salsa. It's this sort of idyllic post. It's this lost California. It's this lost Southern California. We don't have this in the valley anywhere. Toluca Lake is a close approximation, but who can afford to live in Toluca Lake? So here you have Irvine, a really decent city filled with really decent activist people who understand that in this day and age, you don't just sit there and write a strongly worded letter to the Daily Anteater, at UCI or something like that. You got to go out and you got to make signs and you got to raise a ruckus. And so they fill school buses, and that's who's out there.
Every week, not just for the farmers market, but for sporting events.
It needs to be a solution to the problem, not just moving tents.
No dancing! Neighbors like Kate Luke.
Okay, now I need to point something out about Irvine. When you hear this,
Tents.
No dancing!
you might be saying to yourself, Self, that doesn't exactly sound like native English speakers. Here's what's going on in Irvine. Immigrants succeed in Irvine. Very, very successful immigrants from Southwest Asia, Pakistan and India, primarily India, from Korea, from China, from Thailand, from Vietnam, from the Philippines. Irvine is a magnet to them. They go there because the schools are excellent, and they know that that is the key to getting ahead in America. And they come there, and maybe they own stores up north in LA County, a convenience store or whatever, but they know that there's a good life in Irvine. And they come here with the common sense that is now extinct in America. They come here with the common sense that exists in Korea and China and Thailand and India. That if people are camping on public land, you walk up and say, "You're trespassing, go away," and they go, "Sorry about that, I'll move on, thank you." That's how the rest of the world works. Not in Orange County, not in California. Of course, because here the homeless have a right to just drop trow and pull their pants down and drop a deuce anywhere they want, even if they don't own the land, or to claim that a tent is their home and you need a warrant or whatever. So that's the reason that this is a very immigrant-heavy demonstration, because they've come to America, they've found their El Dorado, they're succeeding wildly, even in the California economic climate and tax regime, and they're looking at this and they're saying, I'm not going to let you ruin this the way LA County has given homeless people more rights than taxpayers. And that's the crux of it. The notion that you look someone in the eye and say, you have moved to a country where the homeless, who contribute nothing to the public good, in fact, detract from it, literally have more rights and more weight in the courts than you, the taxpayers. And they're saying that ain't cricket. Wait, let me get it again.
Intense.
So that's why they're saying no tan city. So there you go. I'm with them. No tan city. More of them. Run for office. Run for office. We'll be back right after this. Super Hyper Local Sunday. Brian Suits in here until 10 p.m. Murders, people falling from balconies, all of it. It all happened this weekend. We'll get to it right after this. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chappé with the news.
A woman in her 70s has broken leg.
That guy sounded fucking bestial, right?
Oh, damn city. No, I know.
And then Bridget, next segment, right?
Let me confirm.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the call-in number?
She could just do 1-800-520-5.
1 KFI?
Yeah. One, which is 5341. Fuck it, just give me the letters.
That's I did. Wait, 5. What is it?
The numbers?
1-800-520-1
KFI. What time did you say to call, huh?
I told her to call in 4 minutes. I like my new tracking dolly. I did not. Was that in today's New York Times? At least I'm not losing my hair. I've had the same hairline since I was 15, I believe.
Socially liberal person in general. I mean,
I'm still the same. You all moved.
we did.
You all went so far out, you lost everything. I mean, seriously,
You're probably right, by
a
the way.
lot of your audience, and including me, I just want to say this, Jimmy. A lot of us, you know, no matter who we voted for, we don't want to see our president fail.
Right.
You know?
Right. I know.
Because we don't want Pence.
And yet we've seen it over again.
You want Pence? You want Pence for the friggin' president?
No, I don't want
Well,
him
then
either.
zip that
I'm a little bit sad today. I had to fire a guy who quit doing things the right
2 minutes?
way and started doing things that.
When was this? Does anyone know when was Roseanne on with Kimmel? Was that Friday? I just want to know how recent this is before I play it. Thursday? Okay. Yeah, I told her 4 minutes, so. Yeah. This is Scott Goddard Cowpunk. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyperlocal Sunday. Everything that you need to know to win your Monday. Crime, death, murder, everything. here in the Southland, including abandoned furniture. And boy, do we have a winner in Huntington Beach. Somebody submitted. So you can go to hashtag Have You Seen a Free Couch, and you can submit one because it's a curious feature of Southland living. Well, another curious feature of Southland living is divorced people, well, dating. And finally, it's out, the Divorced Dude's Guide to Dating. And wow, does this hit absolutely in the middle of our demo here on the KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk. The author at Mel Magazine is also the Playboy sexy columnist. The column is Just the Tips. And the writer is Bridget Fedesi, who's under the weather, joins us from her sick room. And I guess probably best you didn't come in studio. Thanks for talking to us. And I sort of under the same thing, but I'm not fluish. I think this is just a cold for me. It's not that flu thing. All right, so at melmagazine.com, your column, The Divorced Dude's Guide to Dating, and let me just start by saying I absolutely can't imagine a worse place in the United States to be divorced and looking to date than Los Angeles. So this is the definitive guide. And let's just to set up the not the bit, but just for your own bona fides, so the audience knows you are married, you are divorced, you're navigating this terrain. So in the Southland, what are the mistakes that the newly or the long-term divorced make? Men and women, by the way. So what's the how to versus the how not to? So you're saying do not immediately start jumping into every dating app and all that. So out there in the KFI demo, there are thousands of men, late 40s, early 50s. They're probably in the first year or two of post-marriage. What are the rookie mistakes those guys make? What should they not, like for instance, what pictures should they never ever upload? Besides the obvious one that we all know they should never ever upload. Uh-huh. So say that. Just like in your profile, just say, I gotta be honest, coming out of a divorce, just looking for someone to watch the Rams game. What's what is the better maneuver for a divorced man or woman, 20 minutes into the date, to say flat out, I just don't think this is going to work. I really thank you for coming here. I'll get this, and best of luck. Or answer a fictional phone call. Best not to aggravate. And you can do a fake spill on yourself. And I'm short on time, but I want to run a scenario by you. Bridget Fetisi, Playboy.com, sex columnist she does Just the Tips, the column there. Also, her column, The Divorced Dude's Guide to Dating from Mel Magazine. I just tweeted that out. Okay, so here's the scenario. Let's say I have a friend, let's call him Ronald Brump, and let's say my buddy is a wealthy bagel developer from Manhattan. He's on his third marriage. In fact, he just had a son, let's call him Darren, a month ago with his third wife and his second Eastern European. And he's at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. He meets a Playmate of the Year. So that's a plug for your employer, but also a porn star. Let's say you're one of those two women. You can check whichever one you are. And that my friend says, you remind me of my daughter. Is that a closer or is that a deal breaker? Did I mention that he's a billionaire? TV star. Yeah, that's only surpassed by you remind me of my dead wife. You know, or something like that. My living daughter. All right, I tweeted that story out, and also you're a great Twitter follow at Bridget Fedesi. I'll tweet out your address there. So get well soon. Thanks for joining us. And I sense that you're going to be getting a lot of emails from KFI listeners. All right, thank you very much. Get well. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. It is Super Hyper Local Sunday. Brian Suits in here until 10 p.m. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chapin with the news.
She's still on hold.
No, I got it.
And is Kevin calling in? Or he's here, yeah?
Yeah, he's going to call it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks.
It would have been good to ask, is Stormy Daniels really a porn star? I keep saying actress because I don't know if she's a star.
I had never even heard of her until this story broke. Yeah, I'll take my glasses off.
Makes Trump look bad. Yeah, make her a porn star.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a great time for 2 weeks filling in for Gary and Shannon. These are Peeps, Peeps. I get them on Amazon. I've got black, I've got the tortoiseshell, and I've got these. These are just 1.0 reading glasses.
Guys, traffic from your helpful SoCal Honda Traffic Center. Crash
Yeah, so we track how many downloads of the podcast there are. Dark Secret Place was the most downloaded podcast all of last week. And then Last Night's Show is the most downloaded podcast of the past 24 hours. There's more downloads of Last Night's Show than all the Handle downloads all week. So I don't know, but every once in a while I get the feeling that I really am very much on brand for KFI. Just a weird feeling I get. I wish I had actually filled in for Handle because I love morning shows. I did a great morning show at KVI in Seattle. It was terrific. And then I came back to KABC for that 9 to noon show. But Gary and Shannon, are a really good morning show, a really good replacement for Handle. But I did like 10 to 2. I love 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But it's officially, I can't talk about the lineup at KFI. I have what I wish, and I have what's going on. I should point out that you all have quite a bit of influence there.
Has outstanding reviews. Miriam works hard, knows law, and makes sure that her clients get the help they need. That's why I call her a superwoman and super lawyer. If you suffered an injury from an accident, get the medical attention and compensation you deserve from my lawyer.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm from Seattle. I'm from that. I work so well on Seattle radio, but I never worked as well as after I'd been in LA. When I went back to KVI after you know, being on KFI for 3 years or 4 years, I did a really out of the norm show back in Seattle, where they don't talk about race openly, don't talk about ethnic tension or anything like that. I came back to Seattle and I was openly talking about, you know, ethnic problems in Seattle. And Seattle's a very passive-aggressive Nordic place. That's normally not done. So it worked really well. Okay, I got to get a bumper. How much time? It's Goldfrapp.
Goldfrapp.
All right, I'm good.
Visit psgff.com for more information on how to
Excuse me.
Story of why I'm on radio. Going back to when I was 8, I asked my parents if we could stuff the cat, put the cat on top of the dog, and have the dog run around with a stuffed cat. By the way, that is a true story. I mean, the cat really did die 3 days before we were going to appear on Bozo. What do you think that did to my sight? That was 25 years of therapy, just that one.
We'll handle tomorrow at 6, right after the wake-up call at 5 on KFI AM 640.
More stimulating talk.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyperlocal Sunday. Brian Suits in here until 10 p.m. So a couple of pieces of audio. Today, Mark Zuckerberg bought full-page ads in a whole bunch of newspapers, basically apologizing. Saying sorry for the breach of trust. Full-page newspaper ads in the UK's Observer, Sunday Times, Daily Mail on Sunday, Sunday Mirror, Sunday Express, Sunday Telegraph in the United States, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. You'll notice not the LA Times. And didn't Jeff Bezos buy the Washington Post? That's interesting. I thought he did. So anyway, what was he saying? He was saying sorry for the breach of trust. He was on CNN Business earlier today, and he rarely talks. You don't hear him a lot. He's like Jared Kushner. But here he is explaining how this hoovering up of all your personal data is not going to happen again because it was a lack of security.
To get results you actually love.
Oh, shut up.
The right tools really do.
Shut up. All right, here we go.
Version 2 of whatever.
Here's Kermit.
I'm sure someone's trying, right? And I'm sure that there's V2 of version 2 of whatever the Russian effort was in 2016.
If I told you that was Bill Gates, you'd believe me. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
These guys all sound alike. And it's, Piggy, Miss Piggy.
I'm sure they're working on that. There are going to be some new tactics that we need to make sure that we observe and get in front of.
Do you know what speaking of getting in front of them, do you know what they are? Do you have any idea?
I mean, yes, and I think we have some sense of the different things that we need to get in front of, and we have a lot of different.
So it's just never ever going to happen again because they're seeing record people delete Facebook, and now that the guys who started Instagram and sold Instagram to him for $16 billion, boing, are now posting. What's his name? Acton, the co-founder of Instagram, posted delete Facebook, and then on Friday, Elon Musk deleted Facebook from SpaceX, Tesla, and his personal Facebook page. And that's a giant FU to Zuckerberg. And because there have been people who've been saying that Facebook is the devil, like the fruits of the devil, for a couple of years. And he makes it seem like there was some kind of security breach. But here's the crazy part. I'm torn by this. For instance, because I was sick last Thursday, I had to cancel my live gig, my live comedy show at Arcadia, Dave & Buster's, entitled How to Win a Gun Debate Against an Idiot or an Astronaut. It's rescheduled for this Thursday at 8 p.m. at Dave & Buster's, and you go to Facebook, Dark Secret Place, the Dark Secret Place, for ticket information. Well, I market the live show almost exclusively through Facebook. And first time I did it, it cost me $4.99. And I could define who I wanted to, my event promo to see on their Facebook page. And I said, men and women, 35 to 54, Orange County, conservative, different tags, KFI, Dark Secret Place, etc. And it kept narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. And it was not only my followers on the Facebook page, which was like 9,000 or 10,000, but it was also your friends. So if your friends were seeing it, that's what Facebook was doing. It was bouncing off your friend list and going to your friends who have never heard of me or KFI or talk radio or the English language or whatever. But they were seeing the ad for how to win a gun debate against an idiot or an astronaut, because I've debated both, wink, wink. And the results are impressive enough that I do it over and over and over. And all I can say is for cost per point, as we say in radio, I've never seen anything like it. The response is absolutely astounding. If one person buys, by the way, 2 tickets for $25, bring a friend, then it's paid for itself. And how do they do this? It's because you gave them all these permissions. You gave them your contact list. Then also, they know when you signed up for Facebook, you signed up to allow them to monitor your clicks, where you go. And I know this through my podcast. I know this through my YouTube channel. I know this through Twitter analytics, that when you sign up for those social media applications, Instagram or whatever, you are giving them permission to find out who you are. And here's the crazy part. Let me drop this truth bomb on you or whatever. Within 5 or 6 clicks of your browser history, which these social media apps have, they have access to your URL history. Within 5 or 6 clicks, they know all about you. They know what you drive. They know where you live, what sex you are, how much money you make, what kind of investments you do, etc. It's shocking. It is absolutely stunning. And while I use Facebook, I'm about to delete the damn thing, honestly. So the Russians didn't hack the election. They probably spent $17,000 and threw Ohio, because you can concentrate down on the fence counties. And I'm about to do a viral April Fool's. And I'm just curious that if I shoot it out to 10,000 people, by the end of April 1st, will it be all over Facebook? It's an experiment that I'm going to do on April 1st. Since you're all in the know and you're on my Facebook page or my Twitter page, that's going to be a spoof. It's going to be a joke. Okay, on April 1st, it's going to be a joke. But I want to see how I can target it and spread it. We'll be back right after this. Hour number 2 of Super Hyper Local Sunday. We'll get to the murders, and we'll get to the gnashing of teeth. Also, Sports Break 7000 with Sports Ball Caliente, Kevin Figures. That and more coming up. KFI M640, more stimulating talk. I actually haven't done a local story yet. Oh, no, at Irvine.
What murder did you get there?
There was a couple on KBC. Weird how my eyes just follow the camera. Illegal aliens up in Seattle. They are shielded and coddled until they commit crimes, but they don't have the social impact that they have down here. So, of course, in Seattle, where it's fashionable to shield and coddle every victim, they will they will do that and say, you know, fuck Trump and the whole thing. But no, that's the thing. They don't see the impact that it has down here in California, where 10% of LA County is illegal. They're a net loss on public funds, and they kill cops. Though we had a very high-profile illegal alien cop killing about 10 years ago in the state of Washington. And the cop who was killed was a third-generation Mexican-American whose family came up to Yakima, and settled, came here legally and had a very successful apple and apricot business. And he was a deputy, and he was killed by an illegal alien, and people were really pissed.
The worst for the dictator. You know, here's the thing. Like, wow, he's pretty popular over there. Yeah, if you don't support him, he figures out, look what they did in London. Look what he did to the gentleman in Moscow on the bridge, Nemtsov.
Kasich says Russians want to exploit the United States' weaknesses as well as exploiting the weaknesses of...
Oh, yeah, and I get to play that Roseanne audio.
Kimmel?
Yeah, I guess it was from Thursday night, but I haven't... I didn't hear anyone playing it.
On our shows?
No, not on Friday.
Okay.
The haircut, I go to this one place. Next live show is Thursday night at Dave & Buster's in Arcadia, 8 p.m. No, the Beretta 92, if I wasn't issued a Beretta 92, I wouldn't even hold it in my hands. In any caliber. If you're going to spend the money on a Beretta 92, go out of state and get a Smith & Wesson M&P. The one with no safety. Where's my barber? Where is it? It's a really good barber on Leona. Yeah, best barber shop. And their haircuts are, best barber's shop.
Those 40s to right around 50. And then we're going to warm up starting tomorrow. Sunny highs, 60s to near 70 for your Monday. And then sunny again Tuesday, a little bit warmer. Highs in the mid and upper 60s at the coast, and the low to mid 70s inland. Sunny days through the...
I'll play Shannon again.
Wednesday through Friday. Side 70 to the lower 80s. Right now 56 in Brea, 50 in Lake Forest, 56 in Marina Del Rey, and 52 in Burbank. We lead local live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Michael Supre.
You know how hard that is to tell somebody you're too old to insert thing here?
Yeah! Super Hyper Local Sunday with Brian Suits.
That just never gets old.
News from Hollywood, people stabbed. And looks like we're coming to a stop out here. The door is open. This guy is getting out of the vehicle. What? Oh, he's got a gun. He has got a gun. Yeah, this is not going to end very well.
That's why I'm voting for Eric Garcetti.
Super Hyper Local Sunday with Brian Suits on KFI.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyper Local Sunday, hour number 2. Brian Suits in here until 10 p.m. with all the news that you really need to know about here in the Southland. And I gotta say, not a lot of street shooting violence and that sort of thing. We're now on a I think a 3-week general mayhem hiatus, and I don't know. Did we attribute it to the rain? I got where I live. I think we got a final Saturday shot of a little bit of rain, but I think by and large it's all gone. But I bet you, how much you want to bet? Year over year, And the LA Times has a murder blog that you can sort it regionally, you can sort by year, sort by sex, by weapon, whatever. I'm really curious, by and large, March is the wettest month in Southern California. And I'm going to take a wild stab and tell you that March is the bottom of the murders annually. And I for some reason, I seem to recall that July, August are the two most murdery months. And we have some pretty contentious Christmases around here. But I'm going to tell you that the rain, they should just seed the clouds. Except the violence rate, here's the other thing. The line forms here to admire the kids and their political passion and all that. What happened yesterday, March for Our Lives and the whole thing. But two things. Number one, the microphone's on. You don't need to yell. That's really for everyone. Kamala Harris right down to David Hogg. Thing two, firearm homicides are on a 30-year decline. As a cause of mortality, it's not even in the top 20 in America. And I mean, suicide. And remember, I just said firearm homicides. Suicide probably is always going to be in the top 20. The majority of people who commit suicide are men, and they do it with a handgun. If you can solve that, if you can guarantee that you take away guns of suicidal people and they won't kill themselves and whatever, best of luck, okay? But firearm homicides don't even crack the top 30 of cause of mortality in America. So to hear elected officials who used to be this state's attorney general describe what's going on as an epidemic of gun violence is so far out of the range fan of fact that you have to assume that clearly there's an agenda being advanced. To make a statement so clearly demonstrably false and to repeat it over and over, then obviously, and I'm no dummy, of course, Kamala Harris wakes up in the morning with an agenda and she advances it every single day. But that's what happened. Anyway, there was a March for Our Lives. Yet, nevertheless, a Cal State University Fullerton student apparently survived a frightening fall from a third-floor balcony. The unidentified 19-year-old was rushed to a hospital shortly before 11:30 p.m. last night. It happened at an apartment complex. Investigators say they do not suspect foul play, but they're looking into whether drugs or alcohol played a role. Thankfully, he didn't march, but he's alive. So there's that. But that was a big deal here in L.A. yesterday. And it dominated the news and the whole thing because every time in Los Angeles, whoever's out marching, whether it's people marching for the right to exist here illegally until they find their documents or until they find their pants that have the documents in them or whatever, it's covered by our local media as if we're watching something significant that's going to actually make a difference. And so then we're all told to, be sufficiently appreciative that the youngsters are politically engaged. I'm sorry, I can't do that, and I can't lie, and I can't act like I am sitting here nodding my head that I'm in admiration of 17-year-olds who don't understand how the constitutional amendment process happens in accordance with Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. By the time I was 17, I knew that. So I'm a little, and I'm not going to shake my fist and say, these darn kids. And I'm also not going to patronize any kids and say, well, they're so articulate. At the age of 17, I was a state debate champ in the state of Washington. Granted, not the smartest state. But I should point out, Microsoft, Boeing, Amazon. And as we say, though the persons per square mile in Washington is far less than most of the other country, the population is still the most dense. Thank you, good night. Anyway, that's what people said. That's what pissed me off. Because when I was 17, people said, oh, you're so articulate. It's like, yeah, I can form words. Yes, they come from my think piece and they go out my pie hole. Yes, it's not a critical skill. Well, I'm sorry, it's a critical skill, but it's not impossible for a 17-year-old to be articulate. I was an articulate 17-year-old. I honestly felt like most 17-year-olds who had paid attention in the high school should probably be articulate. And I'm not going to reward someone for advancing a silly, unformed notion in their head just because they can yell into a microphone that happens to be on. And by the way, I don't know if it's too early, but can I be the one to say it? Is anyone else creeped out by trotting out kids who very probably should be sitting down with psychologists due to post-traumatic stress disorder, but rather lionizing them and letting them make statements that go absolutely unchallenged? Because I got news for you, there's a crash coming for them. Because when the left and the media does a Cindy Sheehan on these kids, there's going to be a letdown. Remember Cindy Sheehan? Of course you do. Remember, her son Casey was killed in Baghdad in 2004. And then she set about stalking George Bush for some mythical apology that was never going to happen. Her son volunteered for the army, went to Iraq, died. She felt that she was owed and was absolutely the darling of the media for a year and a half or 2 years. Then she bought that property near his Crawford Ranch and she was camping out the whole thing. Where's she now? Well, she's a crazy lady in San Francisco. She tried running against Nancy Pelosi, and that was the death. That was the nail in her Democratic coffin. That was it. The left was done with her. And the minute Bush was a lame duck and she was irrelevant, she was gone. She was no longer a guest, nothing. So I'm just saying, call me the gruff and sensitive bastard, but I'm going to tell you that if any of these kids really actually were in the building where the massacre happened, and they saw people that they personally knew lying lifeless in pools of their own blood, just me speaking as an adult, that rocked my world. And I was trained to see that crap. Okay? I would not at the age of 17, before their brains are formed, be out there exploiting them, lionizing them, spotlighting them. There is going to be an effect. When the camera lights go off and the invites to this week with George Stephanopoulos start going away, and that's going to be any day, by the way, or in about a month, the depression these kids are going to feel from going from thousands of emails per day of their peers and older people and adults telling them how inspired they are to nothing. And then this is going to catch up to them. One day, they're going to be at a Whole Foods and they're going to see the bright red bison meat or something like that. Or they're going to hear sirens and helicopters. And it's all going to come back. And no one's talking about that. No one's talking about the ethics of putting these kids on TV and doing this to them. So, man, that's my job, I guess. All right, when we come back, yes, there are free couches all over the place. We'll get to those. Also, in the Southland, a truck full of frozen McDonald's fries has rolled over. And they're probably going to throw them away. Also, a woman missing for 3 weeks. Last seen where? We'll tell you right after this. It's here in the Southland. And we'll get to it on Super Hyperlocal Sunday. Brian sits in here until 10 p.m. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chappé with the news. I'm not coughing as much as I thought I would. Yeah, Whole Foods does have bison meat. At least the one I go to. All right, you guys talk to each other. I have to go pee. See, there's Karen McDougal. Oh, take it down.
What I don't give the kids is they don't know what the hell they're saying. What are you asking for? Or you want the slippery slope, or like, oh, well, now we have to outlaw the other guns.
Chappelle was commenting on how those kids out there, they don't even know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, can they even? And like, I don't get it because you're seeing certain ones of them coming out of like centerpieces, like that bald chick or whatever. She's like.
Yeah, I tweeted a piece of audio of her where she said he now he wants 45 million to train teachers to use guns, and last year we ran out of paper. And and I was like, okay, now connect the.
Yeah. Oh,
and that was her big point.
Yeah. The struggle is real. So what's going on in the Saudis? Like Houthi, Yemeni missiles coming in?
Yeah, did you see those missiles turn around and hit?
I saw the footage coming in, like with the anti-aircraft shit.
And it just does a U-turn into some civilian neighborhood.
Oh, I didn't see that.
The
place is fucked up, man. Yemen, dude. That's like. Have you been there?
Yeah, when I was in Djibouti,
Oh.
we'd go in and just do an overnight. But yeah, the Saudis fired 2 Patriot missiles at some incoming missile, and one of them malfunctioned and self-destructed. The other one goes up, and then goes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Call clickgranger.com or stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Message and data rates may apply.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college
Did you know that
credits you need
KEIB
transferred? Do you want
records their
to earn a
traffic
quality
segments
degree
before,
from a world-renowned
like,
university?
10 minutes before they air?
Mm.
It's not live traffic, and they're old reports.
Yeah, how long?
Oh!
Minute 30.
Oh! Oh! Dude, fuck that.
Yeah,
Can you imagine seeing that? Oh.
I saw a British Rapier missile in Riyadh, which is an anti-aircraft missile, not an anti-ballistic missile. Yeah. It was apparently put on auto mode, and the Scud was coming in, and the missile system decided that it would engage it at low level. So the British have it aimed up like this, and they went across the rooftops in Riyadh, and it exploded over an intersection and caused all these casualties. But luckily, you know, we always said, "Oh no, there were no casualties in last night's Scud interceptions."
And shit's going down in Gaza now again, also.
Yeah, and then the Israelis said that those Iron Dome launches were false.
No, really?
Yeah, they were reacting to Hamas actually at a machine gun range.
Oh, okay.
So there were errant rounds that registered as incoming mortars.
They weren't even attacked. They weren't even firing into Israel. They were
No,
just legit training.
and so they read those, and that's why the Iron Domes went.
Yeah. Grand Sport convertible every Thursday in March. Just use your Club Serrano card and you might be on your way to the beach in one
Iron Dome.
Visit sammanuel.com for more info. Must be 21. Please gamble responsibly.
They won't do anything about the roads, the freeways and the highways. Right. They won't widen them, they won't do anything. So they spill over to the boulevards. So now they're using gas tax money to take away lanes. They're using gas tax over my DB.
John and Ken, tomorrow at 2, KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
KFI AM 640 more stimulating talk. It is super hyper local Sunday. Brian sits in here until 10 p.m. We'll get to Have You Seen a Free Couch And you can go to hashtag Have You Seen a Free Couch. But the one of the nominees from a person on Twitter, it looks good. It's nice. Big 3-section, sort of an L-shaped thing. The very last section you can stretch out. It's nice. But it's been out there in the rain. So I have some thoughts on that here in just a minute. Locally, a woman, LAPD are searching for a 21-year-old woman who vanished nearly 3 weeks ago. Family members are pleading for the public's help to find her. Valentina Lore was last seen on March 3rd in Chinatown, described as 5 feet tall, 110. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and brown eyes. Suffers from Crohn's disease. Relatives are concerned for her safety, according to the LAPD's Missing Persons Unit. If you have any information, you can Google LA Regional Crime Stoppers. That was a cough. Sorry about that. Politically, well, when he's not sleeping with his best friend's wives, Gavin Newsom is trying to run for governor. The 2018 California gubernatorial forum was held today in San Diego. It featured 4 candidates running for California governor, but the Gav was not one of them. Republican Travis Allen, a member of the California State Assembly. Democrat Delane Easton, former state superintendent of public instruction. Republican John Cox, who is depending on what poll you're looking at, he's either tied for second or he's solidly second, a business executive. And Tony Villar, Democrat Tony Villar, who the newspaper can say former mayor of Los Angeles, but the ballot will not say that. The ballot will say just Tony Villar, or it'll actually say Antonio Villaraigosa, which is a completely made-up name. But Villaraigosa came out of not quite nowhere, but he caught up very close. He closed a big gap with Gavin Newsom. Ultimately, there's a lot of money behind Gavin Newsom. Villaraigosa knows that if he's going to catch up with, let's be honest, the white money, the white Bay Area money, then you got to go to the Central Valley. You got to go to the SJV and start raising small batches of money. And that's what Villaraigosa is doing. He actually has, we underestimate him here at KFI because he's so easy to mock. And let's be frank, no one's ever been disappointed when they underestimate Tony Villar. But the point is, he, in public, in front of his, I shouldn't say that, in front of his likely voters, he's beloved. And he does get money. And he has a lot of youths working social media for him and all that. However, all he's doing is taking votes away from Gavin Newsom, and there's only going to be 2 finalists on the ballot. And so unless the Democrat Party pays him off somehow with some employment for life on the Clean Air Resource Board, he's going to continue running because he's now viable. So anyway, that happened earlier tonight in San Diego, and you know what? I don't have any audio for it, and if I did, I want you all to stay awake, so we're not going to play that. So this happened evidently Thursday night. I did not catch this, but I don't know how to take this, but I guess Roseanne Barr has had a complete reinvention. She's not pro-Trump, but she thinks that people on the left, or at least people to the left of her, have gone over the edge, which now means that Roseanne Barr is the edge. So she's on with Jimmy Kimmel, who I can personally vouch at one point was a good guy. He now pisses me off whenever he talks politics and talks anecdotally and the whole thing. But I don't watch the show. He doesn't listen to this show, so neither of us really care about each other. So anyway, Roseanne Barr was on Jimmy the Sports Guy's show, and Jimmy's trying to extract from her, and by the way, she and John Goodman, they brought the couch from Roseanne. Roseanne has rebooted. It's now contemporary. It's 2018. They're dealing with, I guess, the Trump world and the economy, the whole thing. She's still Roseanne. He's still, I never watched the show when it was in its heyday, but everyone's back. So anyway, she tells Jimmy Kimmel here to shut the hell up with your politics.
Socially liberal person in general.
Let me rewind the setup. Oh, did I just F it up? I may have just F'd it up. Hang on 1 second. So I DF this. This is Thursday. Yeah.
Socially liberal person in general. I mean,
I'm still the same. You all moved.
We did.
You all went so far out. You Honestly, a lot of your audience, and including me, I just want to say this, Jimmy. A lot of us, no matter who we voted for, we don't want to see our president fail.
Right. Right. I know.
And you don't want Pence.
And yet we've seen it over again.
You want Pence? You want Pence for the freaking president?
No, I don't want
Well,
him
then
either.
zip that
This is kind of what the show is like, by the way.
And then Jim, by the way, Jimmy is nervously laughing here because he's getting called on his BS by someone who's been in showbiz longer than him, and for being too far out there and for getting away from comedy and sitting there and turning his show into a screed, turning his show into Stephen Colbert back when he was going after Bill O'Reilly every night or whatever. It is succeeding, and we all know how this works in TV and radio, that, if money is your god, you go to the path of least resistance and most ratings, and Jimmy's doing it. So there's obviously a market out there for it. But what Roseanne, surprisingly to me, her point is, I don't want 4 or 8 years of a failed president. And nobody wanted a failed America between Bush and Trump. I never wished for Obama to fail, and yet there were people who wished for Bush to fail or whatever. And so we're in this point now where I'm still shocked and amazed, but I know how Trump won. He actually went to Wisconsin, and then, oh, by the way, no small beans here, the Democrats absolutely underestimated how much people hate Hillary Clinton. And so the Gavins and the Jimmy Kimmels and the rest of them, assuming it'd be a slam dunk and they would have President Hillary in on the couch this year, are still shocked. They're shocked to find out that Flyover America owns guns and is not on a jihad against gluten. We only do that out here on the coasts. Damn your gluten. We'll be back here in just a second. A charter high school winning the 2018 California Academic Decathlon. You'll have a seat for that one. Back right after this, Super Hyperlocal Sunday. Also, El Sports Ball Caliente, Kevin Figures from KLAC, AM 570, your Dodger station, will be here with the weekend in sports. That and more. Super Hyperlocal Sunday. Brian Suits in here until 10 p.m. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chappé with the news.
A robot action film, Pacific Rim Uprising, is the #1 movie at the box office, toppling Black Panther, which had finished first 5.
Oh. Wait, what was he talking about? Nickelodeon? Did you hear that?
No.
5 people in Riverside. The incident was first reported Friday at the Big Lots store on Tyler Street. People that were exposed to the chemical suffered burning lungs and throats.
Yeah, here,
I have his numbers on my phone.
I forget to arrange that with him, but I'll just confirm it. I saw him in the hallway, but... all right, 4 minutes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Tournament, they're going to play Villanova, who beat Texas Tech today. 11th seed Loyola Chicago will meet Michigan. The game's set for next Saturday. Traffic from your helpful SoCal Honda Traffic Center. Crash in El Segundo on the 105.
On the westbound side, just before you get to Sepulveda Boulevard, they used to have 2 right lanes blocked off because of that crash. The drive is backing up now just before the 405 freeway. The westbound side of the 91 at the 110, that crash is gone, and your drive is back up to pretty good speeds there, headed to Gardena. Southbound side of the 101, delays out of Hollywood from Santa Monica Boulevard to the 110. Northbound side of the 101, just before the 110. Looks like they just cleared a 3-car crash out of the way, but that's slow coming off of the 5. And the westbound side, actually eastbound side of the 60 freeway, just before you get
Yeah, did you see the video of the Saudi Patriot fail? They fired 2 Patriot missiles at incoming ballistic missiles. One of them self-destructed before intercepting. The other one, the guy's on the ground shooting the launch, and the missile's way off here in the distance, and he goes, and lands about a mile away. It's just amazing. Excuse me.
Ask yourself the following questions. Do you need a flexibility? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions...
In the glory days of Rome, the Colosseum was the natural home of great valor. On the West Coast in Los Angeles, there's another Colosseum. This past year, the footballing brand showed a new spirit, a new determination, and a new coach.
ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, text SCHOOL to 35517. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU fifth in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 87% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU Online degrees, text SCHOOL to 35517.
Hey, it's K-pop time.
So you all know Dr. Rispler and the team at Health.
What's that? Oh, yeah. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is super hyper local Sunday. Brian sits in here until 10 p.m. with all the local stuff that you need to know, including a really outstanding Huntington Beach couch. Sure, it's been rained on a bit, but stuff dries out. All right, it is time for Mega Local Sports Break 7000, and so that means Sports Ball Caliente, or Kevin Figures, joins us from AM 570, your Dodger station. Down the hall, our interim permanent sports director. So, Kevin, you're relaxing. You're sitting back there. You have your velvet shorty robe. You're gonna wanna, because when this thing dries out, wait till I tell you about his features. So Saturday, the games last night started a little later, but we wind up with Loyola Chicago is in the Final Four. And let me ask you this: did you see them once in the regular season? Today, I thought there were two terrific games. Villanova beat off Texas Tech real hard. And Texas Tech is probably the best defense that they've seen. And I heard something on a Vegas-based sports show on KLAC, purely for entertainment purposes, that I had not heard. And one of the gents on this Vegas-based sports bet show for entertainment purposes pointed out that Villanova was like 2-11 against elite defenses. I hadn't heard that, and it's really easy to sit there and bomb 3-pointers, when you're not facing elite defenses. Well, Texas Tech had a great defense. Villanova beat them square, solid. It was a good game. So they're where they should be, right? And did I already forget who was the second game yesterday? Who's going into the Final Four? Michigan. Yeah, where'd they come from? They must live out here or something. Well, no. By the way, here's a fun fact. I actually attended one of the lowest scoring NCAA modern era games of all time. There was a Western Regional at Wazoo in Pullman, Washington, and it was the Patrick Ewing Hoyas versus John Koncak and SMU. This is before the shot clock. Your final out of Pullman, Georgetown 38, SMU 36. Yes, we were getting up, running to the fraternity and getting beers in between baskets. It was crazy. So for the the ultimate game of this weekend was Duke and Kansas, and many said that should have been the final, and this game really lived up to the hype. It was a terrific game. It was, as far as I know, in this round, it's the only overtime game. But it started. I don't know if you were up early enough to see this, because you're one of those Utes, and you kids need your sleep. But they did this thing. They had Mike Krzyzewski write a letter to himself as a young man, and then read it. And then something happened in the retelling of his life, and here's a little bit of it.
Did you know that they are doing those things to ensure opportunities for you and your brother? You will become a cadet and a basketball player at one of the greatest institutions for leadership in the world.
West Point.
Their encouragement will send you to West Point.
And then there's a thrilling montage. Okay, do you know Krzyzewski's bio? Here's the thing that kind of got me on this. Somewhere between going to West Point and playing basketball, and then doing his active duty time as an Army officer, and then coming back to West Point as the coach of Army basketball, I kind of thought there was somebody in his life who might have been fairly significant. Do you know who his head coach was at Army? Bobby Knight. Bob Knight coached Krzyzewski at West Point. Apparently, is there bad blood between them? It just struck me that the reason I noticed it is because it was left out, that he could have said, you will come under the influence of one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history, Bob Knight. You will learn that the key to throwing a chair is follow through, or whatever. But he didn't. He just I played basketball at Army, then I became the head coach. He didn't mention Bob Knight. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, karma comes back and bites Mike Krzyzewski right in his tuchus. Because Duke loses in overtime to Kansas, but I got to say that was the game that should have been the national championship. Yeah, and I think Kansas goes on and wins it, but I want Loyola Chicago just because that's so disruptive, that a team that you've never heard of, they don't have any one and dones, none of that, there's no balls, just a good team, guys playing together for 4 years, and this is what the tournament rewards. So I'd love to see them in the final and win the final. Yeah, and I do think that the Lord God would be swatting and goaltending invisibly. And so that would be an amazing proof that God exists. Yeah. All right, finally, this Clayton Kershaw evidently had a fairly outstanding spring ball season there in fake baseball. He comes out of Arizona. The regular season starts up here real soon. What's the deal with this 0.00 ERA in 27 innings? That sounds phony. But was anyone actually trying to hit? And nothing moves the needle like getting a hit off Clayton Kershaw. Oh, my God. And my suggestion for the Dodgers, of course, you are on AM 570 KLAC, your Dodger station. I would have billboards that just said, "We cut Darvish." Yep. Yeah. No, in baseball, $10 million a year is called volunteer work, I believe. So, all right, Kevin Figures can be heard. He is bored out for Petros and Money down the hall. So the F&A podcast, you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, whatever, F&A podcast, also at F&A podcast on the tweeter machine. All right, so yeah, buckle up that robe and we'll see you around. By the way, your beloved Giants open up against the hated Dodgers, the Doyers down in here in Los Angeles. Is that going to be Kershaw Bumgarner? Oh. Okay, cue the motorcycle accident in 3 months. Okay, all right. All right, and Kevin Figures, have a good night. You do. There goes. We'll be back right after this. Have you seen a couch? Hashtag have you seen a couch on the Tweeter machine. Brian sits here. Super Hyper Local Sunday. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chappé with the news. I need to tighten it up with Kevin. I love Kevin. I like, if I'm ever sick, he's the guy I want filling in, because I talk too much sports on KFI. I know that we actually have a huge crossover with KLAC, but for the general audience, sports talk is not what they want to hear on KFI, and I know that. But that's why we just play the hits, NCAA tournament, Clayton Kershaw. Though I have a tendency to go a bit deep in the weeds. I don't know what some of the big topics are. Coming up this week, there are credible rumors that Trump is going to go ahead and roll the dice and fire Bob Mueller on Friday, this upcoming Friday. Did you guys see my tweet that the most downloaded podcasts on KFI last week, and it'll be this week, are Dark Secret Place? Did you see that couch that I retweeted? Let me see where it is. Oh yeah. I showed you this. Yeah.
What? Oh yeah.
And this is where Have you seen the
You know, if
coach?
it's based on pictures, yeah, I can see that one being okay. I mean, I made a killing today over on Clark Avenue.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Jeez, that whole street is just decked out. I saw. Well, I'll wait till we.
He always goes around in a T-shirt. You know, he has a personal coach and the whole thing. So he likes because he really was a skinny little geek at Harvard.
Yeah.
And have you seen the movie The Social Network?
I never saw it.
It is really good. It is really, really good. But they really give him a lot of credit with the actor that plays him. Yeah. And then Justin Timberlake is what's his name? The guy who invented Napster.
Yeah.
It is really good. In it, you can actually it stands up to further viewings. But yeah, Jesse he was in Zombieland with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
But he plays Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And Zuckerberg, absolute Jesse Eisenberg. Thank you, Robert Cordova, Jesse Eisenberg. And he.
You got your final bumper?
Yeah.
All right, you have 3 minutes.
And they really cast up.
At the time when it came out, I was working at MySpace, and they were crushing us. Like,
Yeah.
As we were sinking, it's just like, fuck that shit. We're not gonna give them any more money. Like, man, it's so smart. I lived that life, bro.
I barely remember MySpace. What was the thing that made MySpace fail? What did they not do that Facebook did? Because it was the same thing. It's like, here's my day, and I eat kale.
The
And
number one complaints that I had heard that it was too cluttered on MySpace, like design-wise.
Oh, really?
People liked the kind of standard way that every Facebook page was laid out. MySpace could have won that battle, but they just kept trying to copy Facebook. Kept trying to copy their
Oh,
features
yeah.
instead of being innovative. And it's the payoff. This was the trade-off that we had was Facebook had all the geeky Silicon Valley dudes. We had all the cool fucking LA people and everything like that. And, you know, Silicon Valley won.
yeah, I guess ultimately it just worked better. It was.
Yeah.
And they had a mobile app before. By the time mobile app was a thing, MySpace was dead, wasn't it?
Yeah. And now it's just a joke.
Yeah.
You know, at lunch today I was at a bar. And there's some guy playing music.
Welcome.
And I look over, and it turns out to be the Kyle Gass from Tenacious D.
Really?
You know, not Jack Black.
Yeah, like Kyle quit the band.
Yeah, he just got up and was doing a set.
That's their best song is Kyle quit the band.
Companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol. $500,000 policy for under $27.
Yeah, but Instagram is killing Twitter. But that's the thing is like Twitter has kind of become a different thing. Twitter is a constant yelling match, and Instagram is now Facebook.
9807. That's 800-471-9807.
No, unsheepyourself.com is a redirect to YouTube.
Since 1985,
So
we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials.
I probably need a brand manager, but that requires incorporating and hiring a brand manager.
No need for another app. All the biggest names in podcasting can be found in the iHeartRadio app. Literally thousands of them, like NPR's full lineup of podcasts, including the TED Radio Hour, plus Bill Simmons, How Stuff Works, the New York Times.
Dark Secret Place from last night is up. It's the most listened to podcast in the last 24 hours.
And last week.
What's that?
Past 7 days also, last week.
Yeah.
Number one.
They had all these hearts bleeding all over Facebook, all of these marches with terrible hats and anger, and I can't believe. Then what are you doing with it?
Right.
Who are you?
They're having their feelings hurt. That's what makes them
and
turn,
that's
though.
great, but that should have lasted for 6 weeks, 6 days, and then, okay, what are you going to do about it?
Gary and Shannon, tomorrow morning at 10. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
Welcome to LA.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyper Local Sunday. Brian Suits in here one last time. Oh, yeah. Who knew there'd be a grunge revival, please? Last thing, congratulations to El Camino Real Charter High School. They won the 2018 California Academic Decathlon, though not a bead of sweat was shed by anyone. This is in Woodland Hills, and I'm not sure, but I think one of my daughter's teachers has her kids going there, and her favorite teacher. Really?
Yeah.
Was it charter back then, or did you go when it sucked?
Yeah, it wasn't charter then.
So you're a LAUSD grad when it was not even charter?
We were still winning the academic decathlon, though. That was back in '97.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it was, what was it? It was like Moore Park a couple years ago. Just won the national decathlon.
Moore Park? It wasn't Taft? It was Moore Park?
I know it's Moore Park.
Wow.
And it's one of those things where, it's if you want to find failed school systems, they're easy to find in Southern California, but then all of a sudden you find, national high school academic decathlon. But then again, there's 40 million people in California, so there's that. All right, well, have you seen a couch? We'll go around the horn. Let me start by saying that Sunburn 19 sent in a couch, 3-section job. Not quite sure where it is. Somewhere where it's been raining. Looks like somewhere near a beach community because it's on a hill. Maybe Palos Verdes. Sort of a light magenta or light brown. But it's been in the rain, and you don't want to recover a couch after. First of all, you don't know what happened on that couch, but whatever happened on that couch can stay dry. If it gets rained on, it rehydrates all the mistakes that were made on that couch, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. So that's a hard pass on that. So it's a nice couch. Thanks for the contribution, though. Joey Murata. Should we go? Let's do you last because you're loaded up. Josh. Now, what about the update on that furniture that was up by your house forever? Is it finally gone? Oh. All right. So Thousand Oaks, be on the lookout. Michael Chappé, anything to report? This is that time of year. Yeah, and I'm seeing that even where I am, and there's nobody where I live. It's like you're absolved by putting the words free on it. It's no, I'm not littering. It says free. That's apparently some unwritten law only in Southern California. I've never lived anywhere where and also, by the way, folks, I-5 is not a place for you to drop your couch off.
Does it count?
No, it does not. And Joey, but they're always on I-5. Joey Murata.
Yes, in North Hollywood, I was on Clump Avenue, and I saw 2 love seats, really nice condition, brown love seats, alongside a baby seat in really nice condition, and that was also with, what was the last thing? I should have taken a picture, I can't believe it. Oh, man. It was like a whole set, though.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. This really is the season to be driving around with a flatbed, everybody. So,
the mattress, that was it. It was a mattress.
Hey, did it go through the rain?
It didn't look that bad.
Oh,
it didn't look,
no. Squeeze that like a tea bag, and you will not like what comes out of that. No, thank you. No, thank you. We'll be back for Super Hyper Local Sunday next Sunday here at 8 p.m. Bill Handel, Tactical Tuesday at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, so join us, won't you please. Producer Joey Murata, Josh Saylor in the other room, Michael Chappé with the news, and I'm Brian Suits, Super Hyper Local Sunday out, KFI AM 640.
We know it's yard work, Costco runs, and squeezing in